world's most exotic automobiles, motorcycles, watercrafts, and luxury brands. Names like Porsche, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Lamborghini, and others will all be on display. For more information, visit festivalsofspeed.com or call 352-385-9450.
Tampa Bay's Tan Talk. Entertaining and informative radio for the Sunshine State.
Welcome to Tampa Home Talk with your host, native Tampa real estate girl, Katrina Madewell, a full-time, passionate, out-of-the-box thinker, love for home ownership kind of realtor with over 21 years of combined mortgage and real estate experience. Tune in every week at this time for expert advice on everything you need to know about home ownership, finance, maintaining great credit, building wealth, and making your everyday life better, and how you can be financially successful today and tomorrow. Remember, love where you live or let Katrina fix it. Now, here's your host of Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Thank you so much for chiming into us here at Tampa Home Talk this week. Now, for some of you, this week, we might be the very first time in your area. So I want to say, if you are listening outside of the greater Tampa Bay area on one of our Starcom affiliates, I would like to say welcome very much to the show. And I hope you tune in every week for our show. We're up the same time, same place, 2 hours a week. So chime in with your local station there and catch us every week. Now, the mission of our show here at Tampa Home Talk is to help our clients and our listeners keep and maintain great credit, live within their means, and also build wealth. And my team and I are absolutely passionate about that. We also want to make sure that people love where they live, or we're going to help them fix it. So if some of you are listening outside of the area and you want to just get information, or you want to maybe consider buying a second home in the Tampa Bay area, we would love to have you reach out to us. Our off-air call-in number is 813-936-2302. Again, you can reach us here at Tampa Home Talk at 813-936-2302. And you can also catch us pretty much everywhere across the web. So just go to tampahometalk.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and pretty much everywhere across the web. All of our shows are available on a podcast, so feel free to catch us there wherever you listen to your podcast player. So we have a great show for you lined up today. Thank you, Chris. We have some awesome guests. We're going to continue with our New Year's resolution-based theme. So now that we're hitting high time in February, we want to make sure you guys are staying on with your New Year's resolution. You're not falling off the bandwagon around this time. So I'm really excited to have our guests in studio today, which is going to be right on time for some of you, maybe some of you not so much. So if it doesn't apply to you, we're hoping that you will share this show with someone that it does apply to. So this week's show, we wanted to talk about quitting smoking. So for some people, it's a big issue, right? For people like me, never smoked, never had a desire to, was cooped up in the car with my mom at a young kid and always hated cigarette smoke. So I don't think that was ever going to be an issue for me. But, maybe my mom will listen to the show and hear this particular show, or someone else's mom or dad that smokes, and maybe they want to give them some resources. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest today with Tobacco Free Florida, and also a local spinoff of Tobacco Free Florida. We're going to have them tell you a little bit more about their direct organization and where they're at. We have Gary White, Associate Director for Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance.
Hello, Katrina.
Welcome, Gary, to the show.
Thank you for having us.
We also have a couple of your sidekicks here in studio with us.
Yes.
We have Brittany McNaughton. Am I correct? Just correct me if I'm wrong here. She's the Tobacco Grant Policy Manager, and we'll have you talk about that. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
And then we also have Elizabeth Theodate. Thank you for correcting me. She is Students Working Against Tobacco, and her nickname is SWAT. She's her SWAT team.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you.
That's
Love it.
right.
So, Gary, we'll have you kick off this week's show. Talk about, people I'm sure at this point in the game have heard of Tobacco Free Florida, right? Mm-hmm. The state, I guess, as a whole has spent a lot of money on education and media and commercials and that kind of stuff to get that site and resource known.
Yes.
So how do you guys at Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance tie-in with Tobacco Free Florida?
Well, one of the ways we do it is, Tobacco Free Florida has a very unique mission in trying to help with the education and prevention of tobacco use, and also cessation. So that ties right in with your goal. I can tell you the way we do it is the same goals that they have at the state level. We put that in place right here in Hillsborough County. In the Tampa Bay area, as a matter of fact, all 67 counties. So every county has an agency where your listeners can reach out to us and get the help that they need or have decided to make, especially about this New Year's resolution. They can do that, and it's free at no cost to them.
So what about? I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But what I do want to talk about as we get into the show is, for the person that maybe they tried to stop cold turkey and maybe they still stop, but they're getting that urge. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But before we dive in, just talk about your organization. What all do you guys do? Because you do other stuff, right? Besides resources for quitting smoking.
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, the Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance is a nonprofit 501c3. We work in all substance abuse prevention. So we're talking about marijuana, we're talking about prescription drugs, inhalants, alcohol if it's being abused. So we work with, and we try to work on that through education and different community awareness events. Certainly, coming to your show today falls right in line with what we do.
Perfect.
So with tobacco specifically, there's a program that we have. We have a bit of funding for that, $2.2 million or so.
What type of events do you guys do? I noticed you mentioned that. You're here with us in studio, but what else do you do?
Oh yeah, so there are some events that we've been at with the Lightning in increasing the awareness or educating the community about the substance abuse issues that may be out there that a lot of people just might not be aware of.
So tell me more about that. Specifically, what do you mean? You partner up and you guys are advertising during a game, or what do you mean?
Well, we do that as well. So we'll set up a table at a game. We'll set up a table at some of the local community agencies, like there's some community youth groups, churches. We partner with hospitals. We partner with employers. So if they want to increase the health of their employees, we're there for them, whether it's at the yearly annual employee health fair or if it's just ongoing classes that we help set up for them.
What's the most successful way you guys reach people doing those different types of outreach programs?
Well, that's a loaded question. Let me tell you. If it's the young people, we're going to talk about the social media aspect.
Okay.
Because, older people like myself, more age experience, should I say. Enhanced.
Veterans.
Yeah, I know. Veterans.
Maybe non-serving veterans.
Exactly. So the thing about it is it depends on the market that we're trying to reach. So we run the gamut. So whether it's going to be a billboard, a poster, participate in a parade, whether it's going to be social media, and we're really heavy on that. We have our Facebook page. And then otherwise, we have the flyers that we send out. We have an invitation where people can come to get to know about us as well.
So you try to get something that will attract that person's attention wherever that.
Absolutely. On the college
is.
Campus especially, even in multi-unit housing at apartment buildings. A lot of people might not understand that asthma is one of those leading causes of kids missing school. So we talk about, hey, let's not expose them to secondhand smoke. So we're talking to the community at large. We really are.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what's your role as the associate director? What's your primary function there?
My role is to drive my sidekicks crazy. No.
They would agree with you, right?
I know, they're shaking their head, yeah. But actually what I do as associate director, I really help the director with the overall goal and mission of Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance. So we have more than just the Tobacco Free Florida grant. We have other grants like federal government from SAMHSA. We have other grants even from the state for drug-free communities and things like that. So what I try to do is try to make sure that they have the support that they need to be effective for all of the residents in the Tampa Bay area.
And so
that's what I do.
What is their mission?
Their mission, and they'll tell you more about that.
Who wants to rattle off the mission statement?
Not the mission. Oh, okay.
Like the mission statement with a passion. What's your mission? If I ask your director, what is he going to tell me? He or she?
I can
Who
tell
is it?
you.
He or
I
she?
can tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah. We work to see a community free of substance abuse in the Tampa Bay area. That's what we do in a nutshell. Now, if you want to talk about substance, we can go down to alcohol, marijuana, and others, but that's what we do. And we do that through education and, of course, support with resources for classes and things like that. So we're able to do that. Does that help?
Yes, it does, very much.
I think I got an A minus, maybe. No.
Nah. First time on air?
Yeah.
We'll give you an A+.
Oh, good.
For sure.
Look at you.
All right, Brittany, so what about you?
As the Tobacco Grant Policy Manager, my main focus is basically to oversee the entire Tobacco-Free Hillsborough program. It's broken down into about 7 different goal areas. We have flavored tobacco, which is, you may see some of the white out blunt wraps, candy apple, strawberry, things like that they use to target our youth. Then we have point of sale marketing, which really looks at the placement of the products, where we should be having them behind the counter as opposed to maybe next to the Kit Kats or the Push Pops.
So is this where, like, over the years, the placement of cigarettes have moved? It's your organization that got involved with that?
We do play a big role in that as it comes to talking with our legislators or pretty much drumming up support in the community through some of maybe the guerrilla marketing or, grassroots efforts to pretty much spread awareness as to why some of those things are being placed in those questionable areas and why it's important for them to be placed out of sight, out of mind. We like to say eye level is bi level.
Oh, makes sense to me. So that was number 2. I interrupted you in your 7. Sorry. I just had to ask.
That's fine. The third one is...
You got to keep me on track. I'll just be like way over here.
Oh, I'll roll with you.
And she will. She'll go
the third one is K through 12. That's where we look at the policies in our school district to make sure that we're limiting and reducing exposure to secondhand smoke on all levels through some of the policies that we work with the school district for. We have smoke-free multi-unit housing.
Does Elizabeth work? She works in that part of it also?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Definitely. Elizabeth plays a huge role in that.
So smoke-free housing is, like, give me an example.
For example, you may have seen in forrent.com or the apartment finder where they have some housing complexes, some apartment complexes that have been designated smoke-free or may have smoke-free areas, because we like to spread awareness about that, because what people aren't realizing is if tenant A is smoking in their unit, but tenant B is not a smoker, there's still shared air ducts within that apartment building. So all the toxins and the smoke actually can travel through the air ducts and harm the other people in the building.
Now, does your organization ever get involved with, like, a complaint? Like, maybe you have tenant A living downstairs and tenant B living upstairs, and one smokes, one doesn't, the other one smells it, they've got allergies.
Yeah.
We have received complaints like that. I'm not ashamed to say that I've actually made complaints like that myself, but it's a matter of bringing it to your property managers, expressing your concern over your overall health. You're a tenant / customer just like everybody else in your apartment building may be, and just working with your property managers to formulate a solution that works best for everybody. It may be a matter of working to, formulate a tobacco-free policy, or at least a partially tobacco-free policy, or maybe just moving the tenant to a different unit.
So what? And please elaborate on this. But what does the Florida statute say about if someone can or cannot smoke inside their unit? And does it make a difference if it's their home and they own it or it's rented?
Well, I tell you that if it's rented, it's up to that property manager, that property owner. Really, the property owner can set a policy whether they're going to allow smoking on their property or not. So the government won't come in that regard.
I know it's in our leases. Like when we prepare a lease, it's definitely in the leases whether someone can smoke in the home or not.
Exactly. But it costs a lot of money, not just the impact on the lives, and that's the given. That's the high part. But the money that it takes to refurbish that property, those property owners are listening. And one of the things that I think that we have, if someone went on to tobaccofreeflorida.com and they went on and said, hey, I got a complaint in my apartment. That would filter. If the apartment is in Hillsborough County, it would come down to us. And what we would do is we'd reach out to that property owner and say, hey, just so you know, if your tenant has a documented condition that is aggravated by secondhand smoke, there could be litigation. There could be some lawsuits.
That'd be pretty persuasive, I would imagine.
And be covered under the American Disabilities Act. That's right. So
wow.
If my 2-year-old has asthma. I have it in documentation. I take that to my property owner. One of the things that should be known by that property owner is that, hey, under the American Disabilities Act, that person could bring suit against me for exposing them to harmful substances.
Wow. I can tell you from the real estate perspective, whenever we sell properties, and we've represented clients that are selling their home, we've represented clients that are buying a home,
yes.
And I can tell you the ones, whether we represent a buyer or seller, when we go, if it's my listing, I'm going to do everything I can to correct that situation before it hits the market.
Yes.
But I can tell you what happens if we're with a buyer and it's not corrected, and we go through a home that clearly smells like cigarette smoke.
Yes. Uh-huh.
A lot of buyers may not even walk through the home. And I think we as a culture and a society have changed so much over the years, like from the time that I was a kid
yes.
to even now. So, I mean, you look at the difference in the generation gap between 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Huge difference.
Yeah, and one of the things that happened with that is the voices that Elizabeth would tell you more about how the young people are making their voices known about, hey, we don't want to be duped or deceived anymore by any cigarette companies or anything like that. It's our choice. But another thing too is you see how the opinions have evolved. We understand a little bit more from the studies about how secondhand smoke can even affect your pets. A lot of people might not know that. So if we
I didn't know that. So how does it affect your pet? They can get asthma too, or no?
Oh, they can get well, not necessarily asthma, but there are some diseases that they can get that would be detrimental to their health.
That are just dog diseases, like.
And it could be respiratory
diseases?
kind of things too.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, it can affect their lungs as well, just like it does the humans that breathe the secondhand smoke. You have to remember that pets, they're alive, so they do the same functions that we do as humans. So it can affect them the same way. It can shorten the lifespan, and it can make it harder for them, especially like dogs that go out running or playing, to function, to work, to walk and play and things like that.
I mean,
it does diminish their lifespan.
Yeah, the secondhand smoke is amazing. I mean, we've been through properties that, maybe it's priced right because of the cigarette smoke or whatever, and it's in that buyer's price range.
Right.
But when you go in there, and especially if it's someone that's smoked in the home for years, or like it's a probate type thing or something like that, where the person maybe has passed on, when they start removing items from the home, I mean, there are literally an outline on the wall.
Yes, that's exactly
from where
right.
a picture was or whatever was on the wall, and it's crazy the difference. And then you think about that's all nicotine, and you can literally scrub it off.
And nicotine plus the other 4,000 chemicals that are in there, formaldehyde and some other things too. There is a greater ask or demand for smoke-free properties, not just in multi-unit housing, but you see that, of course, in single-family dwellings. But Brittany had something for you too.
I mean, it's no different than if you're trying to return a shirt or something. If it smells like cigarette smoke, they're not going to take it back. I mean, when I worked in a retail store before I was even 18 years old in an assistant manager position, and I remember somebody trying to bring like a pair of jeans and a shirt back, and it reeked so bad of cigarette smoke. I'm like, no one's going to buy this because it stinks, and it's going to stink the other stuff up in the store.
And that's third-hand smoke. That's what that is.
So I just said, I'm sorry, we can't we can't accept the return because it smells like cigarette smoke.
Exactly.
And that was a while back.
And
dating myself.
That's right.
Yes. Just to piggyback on that, that brings us to another issue of third-hand smoke, because there's the primary and then there's the second-hand, which is any type of smoke that you're smelling from the cigarette or from what somebody's blowing out. But the residue that you were talking about is the third-hand
smoke is interesting. We're going to come back to that in just a second. So if you're like me and you've never heard about third-hand smoke, we're going to tell you all about it and what that is and a little bit more when we get back. We're in studio today at Tampa Home Talk with Tobacco Free Florida and Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance. Hold that thought. We'll be back in just a minute. We got some tips and tricks for you smokers that want to continue to kick the habit. Back in a minute.
Hi, this is Melissa Rogers, owner of SEC Inspection Services, where we offer full inspections and insurance inspections. Give us a call at 727-786-4663 or visit us on the web at secinspection.com.
You're buying a house. Congratulations. So while you're worrying about the paperwork, leave the moving part to us. We're Woody & Sons Moving Company, a Florida licensed and insured mover, and we offer same-day written estimates. Plus, no sneaky mileage, stairs, or additional stop fees. All we ask is that you check out our great ratings on Google and Angie's List, then go to woodyandsons.com to learn more. Whether you need a full-service pack and move or some extra hands, at Woody & Sons Moving Company, we move you.
Aaron Davis here, owner of Hillsborough Title, serving all of Tampa Bay. Our service, strength, and knowledge make us different. From Polk County to the Gulf, Pasco to Manatee, Tampa Bay, we've got you covered. Visit us on the web at thebesttitle.com. That's thebesttitle.com.
You've heard this before. Interest rates are at all-time record lows. But if your interest rate is 4% or above, you owe it to yourself to call Silverton Mortgage Specialist. Silverton is a direct lender, and the best part about this is that the entire loan process is handled in-house. From application to close, we do it all in the same building, which means that our loans close fast and our clients know what's going on every step of the way. Our contact info is located on TampaHometalk.com under Radio Show. What makes Silverton different? Products. We offer VA, FHA, USDA, and conventional loans pricing. Best rates with the lowest closing cost. Process everything in-house. It's handled right here and not outsourced to anyone that no one can reach. This way we can avoid surprises. Our people are simply the best, and we know you'll agree. What will closing Silverton Mortgage Specialist mean to you? A smooth process, real home loan value, and personal attention from real professionals. Silverton Mortgage Specialists are here to serve you. Visit TampaHometalk.com under Radio Show for all of our contact details. NMLS 109600 is an equal housing lender and Florida and Georgia residential mortgage licensee.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. If you're tuning in with us for the first time this week at one of our other affiliate stations that have picked up our show, welcome. I can promise you every week we will have amazing information, fantastic guests to make your everyday life better. So chime in, same time, same place every week. So this week we're going to continue on with the first segment. If you miss any part of today's show, you can catch us on the web. Just visit TampaHometalk.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. Just look for Tampa Home Talk, and all of our shows are available on a podcast, so feel free to catch the first part of the show or any other show you might have missed. Welcome back, Tobacco Free Florida in Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance.
Yes.
Gary White, which is the Associate Director. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Brittany McNaughton, Tobacco Grant Policy Manager.
Yes, thank you.
And then, not that you're a redheaded stepchild or anything, and I can say that because I have red hair, right, Elizabeth? Elizabeth Theodat, she's a Students Working Against Tobacco. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, and you didn't get a chance to talk yet, but don't worry, you will. When we get to your SWAT, we're going to continue on. Brittany, pick up where you left off. You were talking about third-hand smoke. I've never even heard of that before today. So, third-hand smoke, what is that?
Yes, third-hand smoke
And how does it affect people?
It affects people largely the way the secondhand smoke does, believe it or not. What third-hand smoke is, it's basically the residue that's left over from secondhand smoke. So just like you were talking about some of the houses that, may have some smells of tobacco, or for example, if you get riding in a car with somebody who may smoke, but it still smells like smoke when they're not in there, that's third-hand smoke. And it still contains a lot of the chemicals and the cancer-causing things in there that can ultimately serve as a really big problem.
That's interesting. Is there any studies on what period of time that is?
I'm sure there are, but
that's an odd question, I know. So I didn't exactly prepare you for the answer to that one.
That's fine. I love a challenge. But I'm sure there are studies out there that shows how secondhand smoke can affect the body. But what we like to remind people is that tobacco has some chemicals in there that are known to damage the DNA, and those chemicals are found as you're actively smoking. It's found in the secondhand smoke as well as the third-hand smoke. So if you come in contact with those chemicals, there's a greater likelihood that it can cause those issues. And when you have that damage, that's where cancer starts to come in.
So interesting. I've never heard that term, damaging the DNA.
Yes, and I wanted to add something that really concerned our youth when they read it. The thing with it is it transfer. So imagine when a parent goes outside to smoke and then comes in and picks up the baby. Those chemicals are still on their clothes, in their skin, and everything. They recommend that you wash your hands and wash your face because they're still there, so you still transfer it to the babies. And if you have a baby that is just, they put everything in their mouth, or they're walking around the house, they're being exposed to all those chemicals, and they're still breathing it in from the materials, from the sofa, the curtains, the carpet. They're breathing in all those chemicals.
Wow. I mean, somebody like me, the cigarette smoke, I just can't stand the smell. I think because I was closed up in a car with it, as a kid, I just despise the smell. So you are number 4? When I was asking you what you do as the Tobacco Grant Policy Manager and some of the things that you do.
Yes, that was number 4. But the next one is employer cessation, which is we basically help employers in Hillsborough County craft some better wellness policies to incorporate a tobacco cessation piece. We know from research that if you have an employer that's a smoker, in an ideal world for an employer, say your employee works 12 months out of the year. We know that doesn't happen. But in an ideal world, an employee that smokes works on average 11 months out of that 12, and that's due to decreased productivity, sick time. You know, if somebody's smoking, they tend to heal lower than somebody who isn't smoking. So whereas I may have a cold and I'm over it in 3 days, it may take a smoker a week. So when you add up all of those things, smoke breaks, sick time,
yes,
it really shaves off time off of the time that they could be.
I've had
productive.
some smokers working for me, and some of them are like chain smokers. So the cigarette breaks, I think, can add up to hours at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So that's where we come in, and we try to help them implement the policy in a way that's most feasible for their organization, but it doesn't single out anybody who it may affect, because it's not a smoker versus a non-smoker issue. It's a healthy versus a
I
non-healthy.
notice it's an incentivized type thing, because my husband works for the city of Tampa too. And they have this tobacco-free certification every year at the beginning part of the year when the insurance renews, that if you certify you're tobacco-free, your insurance rate, you know, your health insurance premiums are lower.
Yes.
Yes,
If you
they-
don't smoke versus if you do. And
Yes.
then other things like that. And then they do like blood draw and that kind of stuff. That
Yes.
it's incentivized. So where
Yes.
you're going to pay a lower premium is going to be a cost savings if you cooperate. You don't
Yes.
have to, but you know, if you do.
Yes, and it definitely works in reverse when it comes to health insurance or even life insurance. You know, if they're able to detect that there's nicotine or the byproduct of the nicotine in the blood, it could drive your rates up. So for our employers who may not be in a place to necessarily offer incentives in those regards, or to be able to cover cessation from their end, that's where AHEC comes in. That's Area Health Education Centers with the free tobacco cessation courses. And it also covers people who dip, because I know a lot of our dippers do feel left out because we push quit smoking, but it's really quitting tobacco as a whole. Exactly. And those classes come at no cost to the employer who may want to offer it, no cost to the participant, and they get a month's supply of nicotine replacement therapy for free.
Wow.
Can I tell you this? We did a class for a company in Hillsborough County at something like 11:30 at night.
Oh,
We're talking
wow.
about that kind of flexibility, because there are a lot of shift workers. And so we don't want them left out either. This information is, and Tobacco Free Florida cares about all Floridians. And so where the employers are concerned, it is so important that we decrease as many barriers as we can, and we do that by offering to go to that.
You guys sound like us. We've been in builders' offices till midnight. I know I have.
That's why we're hanging out today. That's good. That's good. Right.
So the next one, are we up to 6?
Yes, we're at number 6.
I swear I can count.
Number 6 is our Tobacco Free Partnership. It's a countywide standalone coalition comprised of, we have public health professionals, we have parents, teachers, just general community members who have a genuine interest in, you know, building a healthier community and helping our community move toward being tobacco free.
So they volunteer their time?
Yes,
To
they
work
volunteer
with
their
you guys.
time, their efforts. We also have our youth, which is leading into number 7, students working against tobacco. They play a very active role in our partnership.
And Elizabeth, you know, welcome again to the show. I know I introduced you, but you get a chance to share on, I'm sure this is your passion in some respect, right?
Definitely. Thank you.
So why do you want to talk about the youth? And because you're students working against tobacco, so SWAT. Like, what do you do exactly in that position?
Yes. Well, our motto is defending a generation, and that's exactly how we feel. We feel that we need to defend and protect our youth, but who's more able to tell their stories and say how tobacco affects them and their lives than the youth themselves. And we find that youth tend to listen more to their peers than adults, but also the legislators, everybody can listen to the youth, because their stories are more right there at ground level. You know, they can tell them what's going on in their schools, what's going on in the communities. When the kids, the parents are not seeing what the kids are doing, but other kids are. So
you guys work with students directly at schools and
Yes.
churches and that kind of stuff? You work
Yes.
with administrators with the students?
We have programs, SWAT programs, student working against tobacco programs in different schools. We have them in community centers. We have them at one of our churches, community churches as well, and we're trying to expand. We have 2 levels. We work in the schools or within the center, educating, empowering those students, talking to so that they can talk to the peers, you know, and spread that word, that message about living a tobacco-free life. And then we take them and we have the SWAT board, which is we work in the community. And we're always doing events that we come out in the Veterans Parade, in the Martin Luther King Parade. We do, for example...
So what kind of stuff do you guys do, like when you do those parades? Like when you show up at the Children's Parade, you guys have a booth set up, or what? Are you walking in the parade? Like what are you doing?
Right. We're walking the parade. And this last school year has been a lot of fun because we had a group of our students, SWAT students are great dancers and gymnastics. So we're walking the parade and they're flipping and dancing and stuff. But we have the posters with the message. And our message is that we can live a great life if we stay healthy, if we make better choices. So that's our message for the kids. So we thought we target the youth, and that's a way of creating awareness. And it's upbeat, and we do cheers, and we're stepping because it's youth led. They decide what we're going to do at these events.
That's nice.
And we just make it happen. And
so if you think about, and we talked about like the different decades of just how things changed over the years, but I can remember even when I was a kid, like how tobacco was promoted, which is not allowed now. Like there's a lot of rules that I'm sure you guys can definitely elaborate on that way more than I can. The rules that don't allow that. But I remember things like even like candy cigarettes when I was a kid, and the camel, camel character on the pack, and I'm sure there's other stuff I don't even remember. That's probably still there subliminally
and
somewhere.
You're exactly right. So there's been a lot of regulation that happened with that, and the youth were a big part of that because it was something about in the Tobacco Control Act signed by the current president in 2009 that said we need to deal with cigarettes in particular, but it did not address the cigars because now they put flavors in cigars and cigarillos. Exactly. And in case your listeners did not know, one of the most prevalent flavors that's been found in Plant City was not strawberry. It was gin and juice. That's interesting. So all of those flavors that they try to do to attract young people, and now they're putting it in the other nicotine delivery devices as well. Those different flavors, trying to attract that younger crowd. So you're right. There has been an evolution about how we address this critical issue in the community.
Right. So people that have switched from like cigarettes to cigars, is there not as many harmful chemicals in those, or just as many, or? Where are we with that?
Well, the truth is...
Because you don't... I mean, I don't smoke cigars, but... I mean, I don't... If I'm not mistaken, they don't really inhale the way they do cigarettes. Is that right, or no?
No.
Or they do?
Anything that's combustible, that if you're lighting tobacco, whether it's a cigar, cigarillo, and we're talking about the difference in the weight of tobacco in the product.
Okay.
So the cigarettes is only a certain amount weight of tobacco. So we have to go to a different weight to go to cigarillos and cigars. So the truth is, yes, there are as many dangerous chemicals in cigars and cigarillos as there are in regular cigarettes.
Yes.
Now,
and what I like to tell, because I have a lot of people tell me, I don't smoke the cigars, I inhale. Well, that's still causing some damage to the body because even though they're inhaling the smoke, because of the saliva in the mouth, they're still absorbing that nicotine through their mouth. So it may not be absorbed through the lungs, but it's still being absorbed through the mouth. So I like to caution my inhalers against that.
So it's soaking somewhere into the bloodstream somehow, like whether
it's getting absorbed one way or another.
Yeah.
Yes, and another thing I wanted to talk about, the advertising and things like that. We have to be very careful because that's a very good, very strong subject for the youth about manipulation. They'll always find a way. So what they do is, okay, I can't put a billboard, but I can have people smoking in the movies and in shows. And then so cool people smoke. So they still find other ways to send their messages.
Well, if you look at movies in the 50s, I mean, or the black and white movies, they're all smoking. Because that was the cool thing to do.
Yes.
Well, there were even Flintstone commercials with Winston.
Yes.
Doctors were promoting cigarettes. They were saying that it's okay to smoke. So yeah, it's a complete turnaround. But that didn't happen by itself.
Yeah, and with the social media revolution and the internet and things like that, who needs a billboard? The kids are in the computer, online, so the ads are still there. There's just thousands of videos teaching them how to smoke, how to do this, how to do something else. So the threat is that's why the best way that we find is to educate, to empower the youth. We don't tell them what to do. We tell them what is going on, what can happen, and help them make those decisions. Because if they believe it, if they understand it, then they can deliver that message.
What year was it? Do you guys know off the top of your head that Florida passed that? It's a Clean Indoor Act. Is that it? Where you can't smoke like inside restaurants and inside buildings? When
I don't know the exact year, but I know it's been
about 10 years.
Florida's been in. Well, yeah, you're right. It's probably. I know it's over 10, but I know that Tobacco-Free Florida started around 1996. 1997, Tobacco-Free Florida started, and then a little bit after that. You said 2000, Brittany?
It was about 2000, if not shortly before.
So was that your organization, along with like state level organizations that got involved with legislators to kind of push for that? Because I noticed it was on the ballot. I mean,
organizations like ours and ours, because we started, Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance started in 1996 or 7 as well. We started as an advisory group to the local decision makers. So yes, ours and groups like ours.
So the hot topic, right? I have to mention this because everybody talks about it.
What are they talking about?
The vapor cigarettes,
Uh-huh.
right? Because I've literally, I mean, now it was interesting because the last time I took a flight, I noticed that they also mentioned that you may not smoke vapor cigarettes.
Uh-huh.
But I have been on a flight before where I did see an older guy smoking a vapor cigarette on the flight.
Okay. And your question is what? Exactly.
So a lot of you see so many of these places popping up, and it doesn't have the same smell that a cigarette smoke was. So that would lead one maybe to believe that it's a better alternative than smoking.
You are on track with that. And one of the goals of our organization is to dispel that myth. Just because someone may say or might not complain about the smoke at the table next to you or outside or something, you're not picking up cigarette butts because it's an e-cigarette, right? They might think that it's safer. Let me tell you, the official stance is we don't know enough data yet to know how damaging it is, but we do know that nicotine already is not and all the other ingredients are going to be harmful. That we already know. So if you think back, so some of your listeners might remember the saying, a pinch is better than a puff. That started with smokeless tobacco. So here we are, got a lot of people saying, at least I'm not blowing smoke in anybody's face, but I just got to dip in. I can do it in class, and some of our students are doing that, by the way. I can just do it anywhere.
I can remember them doing that when I was in high school.
Exactly. And then later on, they found out, maybe we might need to get some surgery because we have jaw cancer.
I have a hole in my cheek.
Exactly. But it started with the same kind of myth of, smoke is not bothering anybody, that kind of, no. There's the studies now that are going on. When you think about the e-cigarette, some studies have already indicated that we don't know exactly how much nicotine you're getting from one puff to the next. It's the same ampule. Another thing we're talking about, our kids, with their curious nature or adventurous nature, they are being targeted by the industry who sells vaporizers or e-cigarettes. They're being targeted to say, hey, try this. This is better. This is an alternative. And a lot of them are very careful not to say it's a smoke cessation aid because the FDA would be all over them at that point because they can't market it as a cessation aid.
Right.
Or even that it's safe. They just say it's an alternative. And like some of our community members might say, paint thinner is an alternative, but is it healthy for you? So we have to really think about the way this is being marketed to not just children, but to adults as well. And so we understand that that we have to keep that message going as well. So Tobacco-Free Florida has a statement about that. You can find that on our website. And the main thing is we have great concern with that.
And if you want to give me any of those resources or information, we will definitely post them at TampaHomeTalk.com and on our Facebook and Twitter page, Tampa Home Talk. We're going to take a real quick break. When we come back in just a second, we're going to talk about maybe anything more you know about, like the studies, how long it takes. Like we'll use the dip, for example, how long it took people to actually realize that was more harmful than they thought. And then we'll also talk about substance abuse in different socioeconomic classes of people, as well as resources that you guys can give to help the person stay on track to stop smoking.
You got it.
So hang tight. We'll be back in a minute.
Hi, this is Aaron Davis, owner of Hillsborough Title. Hillsborough Title is a local, family-owned title agency here in Tampa Bay. Our service, strength, and knowledge make us different. We've served Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. From Polk County to the Gulf, Pasco to Manatee, Tampa Bay, we've got you covered. Call us at 813-712-8888 or visit us on the web at thebesttitle.com. That's thebesttitle.com.
You're buying a house. Congratulations. So while you're worrying about the paperwork, leave the moving part to us. We're Woody & Sons Moving Company, a Florida licensed and insured mover, and we offer same-day written estimates. Plus, no sneaky mileage, stairs, or additional stop fees. All we ask is that you check out our great ratings on Google and Angie's List, then go to woodyandsons.com to learn more. Whether you need a full service pack and move or some extra hands, at Woody & Sons Moving Company, we move you.
You've heard this before. Interest rates are at all-time record lows. But if your interest rate is 4% or above, you owe it to yourself to call Silverton Mortgage Specialist. Silverton is a direct lender, and the best part about this is that the entire loan process is handled in-house. From application to close, we do it all in the same building, which means that our loans close fast and our clients know what's going on every step of the way. Our contact info is located on TampaHometalk.com under Radio Show. What makes Silverton different? Products. We offer VA, FHA, USDA, and conventional loans pricing. Best rates with the lowest closing cost. Process everything in-house. It's handled right here and not outsourced to anyone that no one can reach. This way we can avoid surprises. Our people are simply the best, and we know you'll agree. What will closing Silverton Mortgage Specialist mean to you? A smooth process, real home loan value, and personal attention from real professionals. Silverton Mortgage Specialists are here to serve you. Visit TampaHometalk.com under Radio Show for all of our contact details. NMLS 109600 is an equal housing lender and Florida and Georgia residential mortgage licensee.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. If you're just catching us in one of our other cities that have picked up our show this week, welcome to the show for the first time. Every week, we do our best to bring you a fantastic show with amazing guests to help you keep and maintain great credit, live within your means, build wealth, and just simply make your everyday life better. In and around that, we certainly are the experts when it comes to the real estate market here in Tampa Bay. So in studio today, we have a spinoff of Tobacco Free Florida, the local Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance. Again, Gary White, Brittany McNaughty, and I'm going to mess up your name, Elizabeth Theodate. Theodate. I'm close. I got it. So where we left off, I promised that we would pick back up with this. How long, in general, does the studies take to, like, the vapor cigarettes, right? Everybody's talking about that now. When they started talking about the dip, a pinch is better than a puff. How long did it take studies and that type of stuff to figure out that that was as harmful?
Wow. You know, I can't answer that. I don't know how long it took from the time they started marketing, really pushing the marketing of smokeless tobacco before the FDA or the other institutions studied and said that, hey, this is harmful. I can tell you that from what we've seen with these cigarettes, the initial studies coming back are already saying that it's proving to be harmful. When we talk about
real quick, while we're talking about that, I guess from a third party perspective, meaning you're in the same room of someone that's smoking or e-vapor smoking compared to someone that's dipping, it might be better even to be around someone that's dipping than it would be someone that's vapor cigarette smoking because of the secondhand exposure.
Can I tell you? Aside from my first thing is, if I'm sitting next to you, Katrina, and you're dipping, forbid, I would prefer to sit next to you if you're going to do something, if you're dipping, right? I don't endorse any use of tobacco. However, me sitting next to you and you're dipping would not affect me, except I'm gonna have to bear some of the cost. Right. Medical costs down the road.
Right, which is certainly one of them. But my point being is the vapor and the e-cigarettes are so new.
Oh, yes.
That it's too new for the person sitting next to someone else's vapor cigaretting. Somebody like me might think, they're not bothering me because I can't smell it.
You know what? I can be in a hookah restaurant. Some of your listeners might understand hookah to be the water pipe tobacco, right? I could be in there for a session, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And I'm not doing the hookah, but I'm inhaling the carbon monoxide or the give off of the hookah, my carbon monoxide level is going to go through the roof. It's almost like I'm smoking. It'll be 100 times worse than if I just smoked for that.
Well, carbon monoxide, I mean, you might as well just go in the garage with the door down on the car on.
Katrina, that's why we love you. You understand. You get them. And I know your listeners get it too. So that's. But you're exactly right. So it's important.
So resources, and there's people, keep in mind, listening outside of the Bay Area. Starcom's picked us up this week. So over 400 different stations worldwide.
Congratulations.
So people are listening other cities that don't have access to you here in Hillsborough County. But if someone's listening outside of the area, I'm sure they have a local resource. And so what are some of the things, because the federal government and the state governments give grants to help promote healthy living.
That's right. Education and all of that. So
what do you guys do? Like if, let's say I'm someone and I'm smoking or whatever I'm doing, right? We talked about a little bit on the break about alcohol use, and you can share some of those stats in a few minutes. But if for someone doing that type of stuff and they go, look, I really want to quit smoking. I want to quit drinking. I want to quit prescription pills, whatever it is. What resources do you guys have? What do you do to help that person?
If they're here in Hillsborough County, hcada.com, we can help you, point you in the right direction to get you the information you need. If it's about prevention.
So someone goes into your office, they call, like, give me an idea what that looks like and what that sounds like.
What that looks like is calling our number at 813-238-4034. Or if you just want to go online and you could even send a question and we could monitor and get the message to us about, hey, this is what I'm looking for. We've had that for requests for services before through our website at hcada.com.
And we realize you might be driving, so if you didn't take any of this down, just go to TampaHomeTalk.com, and I promise we will post your information on our page, TampaHomeTalk.com, or across the web, Facebook, Twitter.
If it's tobacco, it could be tobaccofreeflorida.com. For Brittany's classes, she has a website.
Locally, as I mentioned earlier, AHEC, Area Health Education Center, does facilitate tobacco cessation classes for smokers and our dippers, locally as well as statewide. AHEC is a statewide program. In order to find information on the classes, they can go to ahectobacco.com. or they can call 813-929-1000. The good thing about those classes is that there are community classes that are held around the year, but for our employers who may want to offer that service to their employees, we do have the ability to actually work with the employers to do on-site classes to make it easier for the employer and the employee who aspires to quit using tobacco.
So is that a one-time class? Is it a series of classes? What is that like?
With the AHEC curriculum, there's two different types of classes. There's the Tools to Quit class, which is a one-time 2-hour class. And then there is the Quit Smoking Now class, which is a 6-week, 1 hour per week class, which is kind of like a building blocks concept. Whichever class the aspiring quitter chooses, they will still get the 4-week supply of nicotine replacement therapy for free.
Awesome. So Tools to Quit, what resources do they offer? The nicotine patch?
Yes, there's the nicotine replacement patch. There's the nicotine replacement therapy, which will be either the patches, the lozenges, or the gum, whichever ones are available at the time. And it also comes with tobacco dependency counseling. So we teach them about the benefits of no longer using tobacco, some of the things that can happen if they continue using tobacco. Participants also learn in the class that within a year, their risk of cardiovascular disease is actually cut in half within a year of quitting smoking. So all of those things go into the class.
So what about, I look at people like my grandfather, God rest him. He passed away last November, and he smoked from the time he was 8 years old. And he, fast forward, he's in his 80s, he had throat cancer. Right. And he, basically, he went through chemotherapy and radiation, which was really hard at his age. He got through it, and about the time they cleared all the cancer, my grandmother had just passed, and was like, whatever, I don't really care what happens. So the next thing you know, he's smoking again, which I couldn't even believe that after that. And, it comes back. And I got to tell you, towards the end of his life, it was so painful to watch that, to watch him not, he couldn't eat, he couldn't drink. And then it got to where he couldn't even talk. His voice was so low, you couldn't even hear him.
Exactly. A lot of times there are triggers that get people back using on the product. Our goal with the class is to have people quit and stay quit. It does take people about 7 to 10 times or more to quit successfully. So if they're on their second or their third try, they're still well above average, which is why we give them different behavioral tools to help with the cravings and to cope with the different triggers that may, want them to start using tobacco again, to keep them from going back to that product.
And I imagine influence surrounding all of those, play part in it.
Absolutely.
Like my mother and them lived together. And I told my mom, I said, for as long as you continue to smoke, he's going to smoke too. Like, even if he cuts back, he's still going to smoke.
Absolutely, which is why, if there's a couple who smokes, we
it's
encourage
really hard
both
for
of
one
them.
to quit.
Exactly, because one may be quitting and the other one may have no interest. It may serve as somewhat of a negative influence on that person who's trying to quit. So even with our employer-sponsored classes, some of our employers will actually allow their employees to bring their spouse or to bring their girlfriend or their boyfriend and to come in and go through that process with them to affect an overall healthy change for both of them.
The interesting part, and you mentioned this when we talked, Gary, before the show, you were saying, because I was saying, there's like some people that try to quit, and maybe this is a reason why it would take somebody 7 times to try. I would imagine, and I don't know for sure because I don't smoke and I haven't, it would have to be more than just a thought, hey, it's a good idea to quit smoking, or I should quit smoking. Yeah. It has to be a mindset, right? Like, I'm going to quit smoking. And my guest last week said, even with weight loss, it's not a matter of, I need to lose weight to be healthy. It's a matter of, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I don't feel like me, and I'm done.
Exactly. And what you're talking about, it reminds me of there are different stages to really changing behavior. And that's what you're talking about with the New Year's resolution. Maybe they might be, some other goal that they're trying to do. But we're talking about, it's a difference from contemplating, I'm thinking about doing it, just mulling it around, to making the decision, I'm going to do this. Right? So if we're going to make the decision, certainly the resources that Brittany has, it's for those people who have said, I'm going to try again. I know I've tried 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. I've tried 10 times, but I'm going to try again. I had a young mother who came to one of our classes one time before. She said, I've just tried and tried and tried. I finally decided what made me want to quit is because my daughter, when I take her and pick her up from school, she said one day, Mommy, I don't want to hug you anymore like that. I don't want to be hugged so close to you because I smell smoke, right?
Now, how you say a young mother, 20s, 30s?
Well, I didn't ask her.
She's mid-20s, 30s? Something like that?
Yeah, something more like, late 20s. And so I've known some cigarette smokers in the classes I've taught, they would put a picture of their daughter, their significant other, or whoever in the pack, the cellophane pack of the cigarette. So anytime they pull it out, they say, this is why I want to quit. And those things are things that really help shape that environment for them. If it's not their favorite coffee mug, if it's not when I reach for the leash to take my dog out for a walk in the morning, the cigarettes are right there too. So it's that behavioral thing. They
got to break it, right? Change that cycle.
Create new habits and almost a new lifestyle, pretty much.
And one of the things I wanted to mention, you're right, we talked about yesterday, and I thought about driving over here is this. I think sometimes if we some of the smokers approach this without the proper mindset of nicotine, out of all the other products in cigarettes or tobacco, is the very unique substance that changes receptors in the brain. So we wonder why we go. I'm at my working desk, Katrina. I'm working in the radio station. And all of a sudden, I need to get out of here and get a break. And if I don't get out of here, I'm going to either jump through the window or whatever. That's because it's almost like DTs. That's exactly what it is. Your body is
detox.
Yeah, that's right, detox. The withdrawal symptoms are coming from if it was heroin or any other substance. But it changes the receptors in your brain. So that's why we have to approach it.
So you're saying this is really your brain telling you? It's not necessarily always dependent. Exactly right. It's your brain telling you.
You know what? Because a lot of other people before, let's say if you didn't smoke, maybe when you get a little stressed, I know you got a lot going on, but when you get a little stressed, maybe you just put on, I don't know, your favorite album or something. Or maybe you just go for a walk. Or maybe you paint. When you do things that relax you, Brittany can tell you that it releases certain chemicals in your brain for reward to calm you down. What we have done, those smokers may have done, is understanding that nicotine has said nothing will do for you except nicotine. So that's why I don't care how much music I put on and turn it way up, they may feel as though until they go to the class and really get to understand how they can really break this addiction, they'll say nothing will do but nicotine.
So share a story of someone that your organization has helped really just break through, maybe even with someone in their 50s that smoked for years.
Oh, yeah.
You got a good one?
I do. In one of my Quit Smoking Now classes, that was the 6-week class, I was actually doing a class with some workers with one of our school districts, and they were extremely stressed based on the job that they were doing. They were the bus drivers, and our bus drivers don't tend to get as much love as they should, carrying our kids around. And they were about mid-age, and they had been smoking for years and years and years, and it was in more of a rural area. And when they first started the class, They told me, we're here for the class, but it's going to be really hard for us to quit while the school year is still in. Understandable.
Oh, yeah.
And they were about 50, like I said, and they had been smoking for quite a while. And as we progressed through the class, and they learned some of the things that they need to do, and they reminded themselves as to why it was so important. These two ladies in particular teamed up, and they made it work. In the class, we do, like Gary mentioned, we test the carbon monoxide levels to see how the carbon monoxide levels are in your lungs. We know
Imagine that's an eye opener for a lot of people.
Most definitely. I've had as high as 30, but by the end of the class, they were down to 6.
Thank you so much for sharing your take. I really value your time. You guys drove over here to the gate of the studio with us. Gary, Brittany, Elizabeth, thank you so much for Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance.
Thank you.
You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. If you missed any part of our show, it's available via podcast. We're also available across the web. You can listen to the whole thing. Facebook, Twitter, and all across the web. And we'll be back next week, same time, same place. Thank you so much for chiming in with us today. We are so happy to have you. Yeah. And please come back next week. But for this week, we are out.
You can do it.
WTAN, Clearwater, Tampa Bay. WDCF, Dade City, Tampa Bay. WZHR,